Hello, everyone, and welcome to part one of a journey through my Continentals Championship tournament. I figured it would be a little bit more enjoyable to show how I ended up getting to qualify for Continentals versus just show the very long amount of rounds of battles that was the North American Continental Championship. So today we're going to go over my regional qualifying tournament, which, as you can see here, I did win. I got incredibly lucky and had a lot of support from some wonderful trainers from both here in Buffalo, where I'm located, and across the pond over in the UK. So special thanks to Jessica, Nail Polish OCD, and Philly Jim Bob from the UK for giving me a lot of talking points and strategy ideas. And I think I'm going to say his trainer name right. I think it's Toshi. Toshi. I don't know. He seems really new, but he definitely influenced a bit of my team selection for this, and it definitely showed and paid dividends with running certain movesets on some Pokemon to help me have more advantageous matchups, but sacrificing some other smaller ones and being able to build my teams a little bit stronger, especially after running something very similar in a Voyager Cup 2 days before, making one change and ended up making it significantly stronger, in my opinion. Even though I ended up winning more cleanly in the Voyager Cup versus the regional qualifier, it just made me feel a lot more comfortable with the final roster for this one. So this was my team. A couple noticeable exclusions being like the Registeel and the Azumarill. I liked having some more utility core breakers involved in this, with the Probopass having Spark, Thunderbolt, and Rock Slide to help with stuff like Alolan Marowak. Thunderbolts for being super effective against anything like a Skarmory or obviously Azumarill. The double Elemental Punch Hypno was a key player in a lot of my fights here. And then the Quagsire, and a last-minute change for the Voyager Cup trial run for a team similar to this actually ran Sludge Bomb and Earthquake to be able to combat both some grass types, the Azumarill, and the Earthquakes for the Registeel. And then Altaria had Dazzling Gleam, just simply because I seem to struggle a little bit with Sableye. It just seemed to be very, very helpful in that regard, and actually worked out nicely against a Scrafty in a previous tournament where I was fairly low and a Sky Attack would not have KO'd, but because I had Dazzling Gleam, was luckily able to one-hit KO. So that was my team, and let's jump right in. Round one, we are looking at the Ferrothorn here, being some of the spicier ones that I hadn't really predicted being on the meta here. And then the Medicham out of slot 3 wasn't something I was expecting to see a lot of, if any of, so we're just kind of going to spam some Rock Slides to see what kind of damage we do, because I honestly don't know the matchup too well. I know the Steel typing doesn't really take much from rock damage, and got a little ballsy, didn't want to go up to the Thunderbolt, and I knew that the Power Whip wasn't going to be too much damage, but I do like my Probopass from doing my previous Voyager Cup, and so now we get to see how much a Power Whip is actually going to do here. Those recent changes to Bullet Seed made Ferrothorn actually a very, very strong pick. I personally only have one, and it's a Hundo that I use for Ultra League. So haven't gotten around for a Great League one. Hopefully from GoFest we'll have a better one. We see that Probo is clearly not a confirmed counter for Ferrothorn, but we're just going to keep on trying to chunk away, do some damage to it. I believe I am down a shield against him now. He's playing it very well here. Sneaks a Flash Cannon in, which really hurts. So hopefully this Altaria will do some work here. Flash Cannons will hurt, but get him to swap out. Now, I thought about going in with the Hypno, because Hypno having Ice Punch would be really good against a Gliscor here, but for some reason I think I panicked with him being up 2 shields, that him just spamming Night Slashes and possibly having Fury Cutter could be very problematic for me, so I stayed in with Altaria. And, Altaria is really good against the Gliscor here, especially because it does have Fury Cutter. Wing attack would be neutral, but Fury Cutter is resisted because of the flying typing, so not too afraid of a Gliscor here with my Altaria. So we're able to KO that. We know we got the Ferrothorn in the back, and then we see the Azumarill. So it's obviously very good that we did keep the Hypno in back because of the double punch that we're running of Thunder Punch and Ice Punch. So Hypno's going to be able to do super effective damage, while Altaria is just going to try to hit as many Sky attacks as we can before ultimately getting KO'd by an Ice Beam. Gotta keep going for as much chip damage. Tried to switch out, but honestly, probably should have let him Altaria go, make the Azumarill expend all the energy that it has. Probably could have got away with an undercharge, but I feel like with it being double weak, it's not going to matter. So let's just try to chunk away with these confusions. Back comes the Ferrothorn. Still kind of worried here because of him having 2 shields up. I've got 1 Pokemon left with 1 shield. So I'm just going to try and build up as much of extra energy as I can to throw hopefully back-to-back Thunder Punches. This was before the update to the game, so I don't know if I actually have 2 banked. I think I do. We're just going to keep spamming Thunder Punches because I believe 1 would KO if it gets through. Alright, it was 1 confusion off. Got the last shield. I believe I'm actually able to just confusion down now that I've got my, burned both shields. Confusion just keeps chunking away. Move is insane. And Hypno being so bulky, I honestly don't know what I was thinking. I made an impromptu team for that Voyager Cup that I keep referencing, and in my slot 1 I actually ran Haunter and swept the tournament, but never once used Haunter. Alright, game 2. We lead our Hypno into the Ferrothorn. Hopefully we can try to generate some extra value out of this Hypno. He doesn't know that I've got the Ice Punch yet, so maybe we could try to do some Shadow Ball baits. Not 100% what he's going to be expecting with this matchup. All I know is I really enjoy my Hypno against his team, so I'm trying to keep it up. Yeah, Power Whip wouldn't KO or do a huge amount of damage, but keeping it healthy is very helpful, beneficial to me. So we bank some energy and duck out of there to try to do some chip damage and build up a startup of energy on the Altaria for what we believe will be the incoming Azumarill. What we really wanted out of this was to get the Azumarill out of here because of its great utility against my team. So there we have it. Just want to do as much damage to it as possible before letting the Altaria go, because the rest of my team should be able to handle whatever he's got left. I believe we ran the same trio, just in a different order. Do get a little bit of a weak connection, but that's alright. I don't believe anything really became of it. So Altaria goes down. All that extra banked energy on the Hypno is going to come in handy, but we've also got the super effective Sparks and Thunderbolts from the Probopass. So hopefully we can get some shields here with these Thunder Punches. Do not. That's okay. Confusions are still going to chunk. Apparently I had a very good habit of overcharging a little bit on these to have some extra energy for whatever comes in next, or to try and build towards more punches. But we let that go through, so we're going to try and farm down with these Sparks. Hopefully able to catch an Ice Beam here. That'd be very resisted. Got it. I can get a little extra farm with some Sparks, but he swaps out. Did he? Looks like I might have fainted. Might have been a really quick switch in after a feint, because that would mean Gliscor and Ferrothorn are in the back. So yeah, alright, Azumarill is down. Fury Cutter, not doing much to us, being rock and steel typing. We do have to be weary of Sand Tombs would be kind of problematic. Earthquakes would really hurt. Called the bait. Might have just been going for the boost, or he might not really even have it. The Earthquake, not entirely sure. Don't think I really want to leave it around to find out. So we get the first shield, which is fantastic. There it is. Got lucky, called the Earthquake there, because counting Fury Cutters is probably just as good as counting lock-ons. Get that Gliscor down. Now we got to deal with this Ferrothorn some more. We know Probopass is not the best at it against it, but at least Rock Slides are doing something. Hopefully we can get that last shield. Try to put extra pressure on there because we know that the Hypno also doesn't do the greatest amount of damage to it, but you know, that's what we got. Forced him to throw some energy here to make sure that he doesn't get hit with another Rock Slide. Bullet Seed charges so fast though, so I think we actually are at a disadvantage here, even with our health totals. Again, go for the overcharge, and I shouldn't be doing this. Want to think that I'm doing extra confusions to try to push him into a range where one charge attack will KO him, but it helps when you use the correct charge attack. And Thunder Punch is not it. Ideally, Fire Punch would have been amazing, but just for this matchup. So, see, not very effective damage. And his Bullet Seeds are going to get him to the KOing Power Whip here. So that was my bad for not knowing the matchups and knowing, I guess, my adequate typings here to know that Ice Punch would have been better. So, deciding game 3. He's let Ferrothorn every time, so I'm going to try. Alright. See if he'll swap out, because I know the Steel typing helps him. The Grass typing doesn't. But let's see how he wants to play this. I don't mind staying in. Flash Cannon's okay. I know I've got stuff in back that will be able to handle Azumarill, even if his Azumarill would have been technically his best Altaria counter. Just going to do a bunch of extra damage there. In comes the Azu. I bring in Meganium. Finally makes an appearance. This flower was amazing. Easily the top wildcard pick for this format, in my opinion. Lets that one go through. We can tank an Ice Beam and just farm down with Vine Whips before it gets to another Ice Beam. I'm glad I remembered this information too, because throughout the tournament I felt like I did this over and over and over again. Do not need to throw, do not need to worry about another Ice Beam. We can just chunk that little bunny down. In comes, I believe, his Gliscor again. Just because of the threat of an Earthquake could be problematic for the Ferrothorn, and the Flying typing and Fury Cutters being super effective can be very just good for letting him farm up some energy. But Frenzy Plant being such an overpowered move, chunks at this guy. And I know that I can get to another one, so I am going to shield this, even though it's such a weak move. I know I can make it, and we get to fire another one in there to either steal a shield or KO another Pokemon. I believe he shields this. He does. That's okay. Meganium did wonderful work, as we saw. Not going to make it to another one. Let's come back in with... honestly, either one's good. Not sure what to do. So we try... Not really sure why we needed to fire the Sky Attack, but hopefully it kind of bugs so that I don't fire it, because I didn't want to expend the energy. We CMP tied, but I guess that only happens in current Pogo, where you can CMP but then not use your energy and then switch out anyways because the game's buggy and weird. So in comes the Ferrothorn. Still not in the best position here because of that Steel typing being so defensive and great, and Bullet Seed just going to help him churn out charge attacks. So now shields are down. Again, I'm so bad at counting these Bullet Seeds, so was going to go for a swap out and did not manage to do it. He KOs my Altaria, so he's a little bit less than half health. I've got a full Hypno. I think I realized mid frantic tapping that, you know what, let's try an Ice Punch. Pretty sure we used one in game 1 and did a lot more damage than a not very effective Thunder Punch, so we're going to try it. He's in the red. Let's try out an Ice Punch. A lot more damage. And we're able to take it. 2-1. Great game, Dave. Let's jump into round 2 now. Leaf Tea. So a couple of new faces here. We've got Altaria, Probo, and Alolan Marowak to worry about now. So I still very much favored the Probopass, given how well it does against both Alolan Marowak, Azumarill, and Altaria. Yes, I have to shield the Hydro Pumps, but if I'm able to count the bubbles correctly and tank an Ice Beam or a Play Rough, whew, you're living easy. So I believe he actually gets me with a bait here. Yeah. Well, I mean, in theory, burned a lot of energy. Didn't need to use the shield, though. So we're going to just try and chunk this Azumarill down as much as possible. Love this Mustache Man. Spark's doing super effective. Getting one Thunderbolt through, I know now I can just throw Rock Slides. Being a little less energy, the Sparks are starting to add up. Gets the second shield. Everyone loves their Azumarill. Can't necessarily say I blame them. It is a very strong Pokemon, but I think it was so heavily favored in this format that everyone felt that they needed to keep theirs alive. Otherwise, they're gonna lose games. But then stuff like this happens where I can just farm you down. In comes a Venusaur, and unfortunately switched out. So now you're locked in with a Hypno. These confusions are really going to hurt, and I like my Hypno, so I'm going to try and keep this alive and burn my last shield. That's okay. I'm going to get a lot of energy off this Venusaur. I say that and then use my energy. So, whoops. That's all right. Downside is now they know that I have the Ice Punch. So maybe that affects their decision making for bringing Altaria. In comes the Azumarill, which is literally just free energy for me. And I guess that didn't necessarily matter. So here's the Altaria. Let's start throwing Ice Punches and KO this poor bird. Hypno being the MVP of this battle by far. So here is also another prime example of why you should be patient with your charge attacks, because I believe I actually overtap again, fire off another Confusion, and look how low I am. In that situation, what you should be doing is absolutely nothing. Let your fast attack finish, and then just carefully hit that charge attack. All right. So game 2, not the worst lead that you'd think. Yeah, the Fire Spins are super effective, but Meganium is super bulky, and I don't know if my opponent knew the matchup too well, because I was probably about 2 Vine Whips away from an Earthquake, so they still shielded this. Probably not in their best interest too. I'm betting on this being a Shadow Ball, and I want to try to at least either force the second shield or KO the Marowak by throwing an Earthquake. So we're going to shield. Got the call right because a Bone Club would have done nothing. So we're going to throw our Hail Mary. If it hits, fantastic. If it doesn't, hey, we're up a shield. But we KO the AWAC. It's one of my favorite Pokemon, but whew, that felt good. So let's see. In comes Altaria. Well, that was to be expected, and that's all right. Feel like we should have just let the Meganium go, but in comes Probopass. The last thing that we really were worried about was probably another Probopass, but instead they've got Venusaur. Honestly, looking at my team, I'm actually kind of confused why so many people kept bringing their grass types. Like Venusaur, it doesn't really do much. My Meganium, yeah, all right. If you're using your grass type to counter my grass type, is it really there for the right purposes? All I really have is a Quagsire, and I haven't been bringing it, so I guess they're just really that afraid of Quagsire? Can't say I blame them, but they also don't have Registeel. So, I don't know. Either way, we're just going to tank some Frenzy Plants here, continue to throw our Rock Slides at this Venusaur in hopes to do as much damage as possible. I know he's still got the one shield. Hopefully we can bait this out. It's not the most favorable matchup for them. But this is what we want, but not at this health total. But we do still have the Hypno in back, and look at that, doesn't even KO. We have the Hypno in back. No, we don't. Huh, I must be drunk. So we are going to have to pull something out of our hat here, and boy, do we ever. Chances are, I believe this is a Dragon Pulse, and Meganium does nothing to an Altaria. So sacking, getting that extra shield here, and all we got to do, I don't know why I'm waiting. I needed to just throw that Sky Attack right away. So with a very well-timed sack swap, we managed to take game 2. I honestly don't know why I didn't bring the Hypno. Should have. So this one, my recording started a little bit late. We let our Altaria into their Venusaur. Instant swap out. And this is how we want this to go. So I don't need to shield a thing. Dragon Pulse is super resisted. Sky Attacks are very resisted. Like, let's just go ahead and hit me. Look at that. Didn't even lose a hair out of his mustache. And how does a rock grow a mustache? Is that just mold? Like, that's kind of concerning now that I think about it. It's got these magnetic little bird heads that follow it around and a wiggling mustache on a rock that is also part steel. I don't know. These Pokemon creators are wild. It's hard to commentate over this matchup given how one-sided it really is. Oof. So we're just going to keep farming down. I know Sparks are resisted, or well, no, I think they're neutral. I just want this thing off the table. I've got a bit of extra energy here, so we're just going to let this Altaria rest. Good night. So still even on shields. This was gutsy because they knew I had energy, so I'm going to get to at least 2 Rock Slides here. This is going to help chunk away at these shields. There's one. Already had the second one queued up. This will do over half of its HP, given its stab, super effective. Whew. Let's see what we got. Another shield. A lot of damage. Fantastic for us. Believe this is a Bone Club. And I'm pretty sure I'm almost halfway to another Rock Slide, so we're going to shield this, even though it's such a mediocre move. Spark charges very quickly, but I'm going to just swap out, try to catch a Bone Club on the Altaria. Even a Shadow Ball won't KO. Think it might have been one, but I believe he gets me. Yeah, he gets me. What are you going to do? Or she, just noticing the female avatar. My bad. Alright, so we got a farm down, and what do we have left? Just poor Venusaur. Again, I don't know. Hard for me to grasp what goes through everybody else's heads, but when they look at my team, when I look at my team, I don't quite see the reasoning for bringing Venusaur, or like the big grass types like that. Like Venusaur, obviously was a very dedicated spot or pick from slot 1, from Gen 1, but just not seeing the need. So we take game 3. All right, round 3. Again, Azumarill, Altaria, and Alolan Marowak, so I feel very confident in my Probopass, so we're going to lead that, catch the Azumarill, which, yeah, still not the best. I need to land these Thunderbolts, so I'm going to charge up to one, hopefully get a shield, and then go for the Thunderbolt on the second attack. And again, like I mentioned before, if you manage to get the Thunderbolt to go through, then you can just continually Rock Slide. Don't get the shield, though. And this I counted. I felt like this could have been a Hydro Pump, so I'm going to use a shield here. Man, do I wish I didn't, but that's okay. Getting the Azumarill down below half. It's doing its job. Didn't get me that time. Burned a lot of their energy. We're going to try to go for this KOing Thunderbolt. Got the first shield. That's great. Can we get to a Rock Slide here? Perfect. Now, I still don't think this KOs, but it puts it within Spark Farm down range, so they're going to have to throw a move. They just barely get to it. It's okay. I'm just going to let it go. I feel like it's another Ice Beam. It is. So I actually do survive this. Farm it down a little bit more. Nearly to another charge attack. They come in with that Alolan Marowak. Fire spins just aren't enough, or I just managed to catch it mid-animation. So in comes another Rock Slide. This is going to do a huge chunk unless they shield. They do. Perfect. So with shields down, I'm just going to come in with the Meganium and go for that Earthquake, because we saw in the previous matchups how much damage this can do. Shadow Ball won't KO. Didn't even make it to one. You see how much a Bone Club does when it's resisted like that. I was expecting a switch out, so I went for a little bit of extra farm there. This should be another Bone Club. Bamboozled. So we got a little bit of extra energy. Didn't want the Earthquake to get thrown onto something like Altaria. So Marowak's out of the way, and in comes the Venusaur. So we can just swap on over to our Hypno. Unfortunately, then we'll still have to reveal that we've got the Ice Punch on our Hypno, but that's all right. They seem very favored to their cores. Still, again, bringing that Grass type in for my one Water type that's out there. I guess Frenzy Plant does well against like Scrafty, but I don't know. To each their own. So we've seen this matchup before. This is one where we just want to farm up to the Earthquake, so that way there's that threat, and hopefully we can get that shield using a Frenzy Plant. So this time we actually do farm all the way up to one. Opponent might have been counting or better at counting than my last one. Frenzy Plant, do get the shield, which is perfect. Marowak's a very strong Pokemon, so we want to get this off. He farmed up a lot of extra energy there, so we are going to shield in case it's a Shadow Ball. Does get me with the Bone Club, that's alright. Believe he may have farmed up to a Bone Club and a Shadow Ball, but lost count of my Vine Whips, and the Earthquake KOs. Likely had a lot of extra energy left on that Marowak, so that's very good for us. Alright, in comes Venusaur. Still confused as to why, but again, to each their own. CMP ties, they commit to throwing energy. Fine by me. I really don't know if I need this Meganium anymore. So, especially with Altaria and back. Switches to a Azumarill. I'm going to bring in Probopass. And we all know this one. All we need to do is just try to hit it for as much super effective damage as we can, and not get hit with Hydro Pump. We still don't know if this opponent has Hydro Pump on their Azumarill. This felt too early. Huh. I should watch my videos before doing commentating a little more. Properly called that. He still got that shield left, so I'm just going to go for Rock Slides. Try to get that last shield. So we got that, but I believe he's a little too far ahead on energy here to be able to get to this KOing Hydro Pump. Yep, alright, so peace out Probopass. And does a brilliant play here, which I wasn't expecting. I farmed up a bunch of extra energy, and he sack swaps the Venusaur. It was wild. Didn't even expect it. He called it just perfectly. Only issue is, I've got too much health on this Altaria still. Wasn't able to do enough damage to it, so even an Ice Beam being double super effective, I can tank it, and I'm back at another Sky Attack to KO the Azumarill. Whew. What a swap. Let me take this game. Woo. Alright, Altaria Mirror. I don't really know. I don't do a lot of practice with these to know like what the proper play is about switching or who throws first or how you're supposed to do that. But all I knew is I wanted to try to catch a Sky Attack on the Probopass, and that just did not work out. So this isn't still a bad matchup for me. I do have to be wary that I have Meganium in back and his Altaria is hidden, so we don't want to get that locked in. So we're going to commit some extra shields to this matchup to make sure that I keep my Meganium away from his Altaria. So we already landed the Thunderbolts. We're just going to keep going Rock Slide, Rock Slide, Rock Slide. Got the shield. We're going to match shields because, again, keep Meganium away. Yeah, it sucks to shield an Ice Beam on Probo, but we want to maintain our advantage here. Double shield. Ice Beam wouldn't KO. Hydro Pump definitely would. Managed to snag the Hydro Pump shield. That's great. Alright, let's see how we do with this Rock Slide. Got their second shield. Fantastic. So we're going to farm up some energy here. And then go into the Meganium. Because if we lose it, that's actually okay now. Opponent does decide to throw, which, again, very okay with. We can tank an Ice Beam, and then it means a lot less farm for their Altaria that comes in and throws instantly. It's not like I have anything that on Meganium that's threatening to an Altaria, so the fact that they threw instantly is actually really, really good for me. This was a prime example of my got a little greedy, farmed a bit too much because we don't know what's in back. But I don't know where my health bar is. I think I'm actually at negative health right now, but somehow managed to survive to be able to throw this Rock Slide. And there goes the Altaria. Whew. But then in comes their Probo Pass. So I got a bit of a taste of my own medicine here of getting my Altaria locked on their Probo. Oof. Makes perfect sense. My opponent hasn't seen me bring Quagsire, and then my best counter for Probo would have been the Meganium. So as soon as he saw the Meganium out of the way, he just hide Probo and back. Very well done. Smart play. Only downside was I believe this was game 3. So it was kind of all for naught, but made the games very interesting. Somehow I didn't even expect this on my radar. And my opponent, Mr. Dr. Max F, swung this game drastically in their favor. All right, so now we're against Tom, the Bronx Bomber. I don't believe I battled him in the Voyager Cup previously, so he doesn't know about the Spice. I really like my Quagsire here. Being good against the Zoomerl, Bastiodon, Scrafty, Toxicroak. It's a solid play, and he's not expecting these Sludge Bombs, so he just tanks one. And Sludge Bomb surprisingly does a decent amount of work against the Tropius, because generally Tropius will be switched in, so I'll have some kind of an energy advantage. So I'm going to farm up a little more, try to throw another Sludge Bomb, hope to get another shield, see what he does. Tom's one of our strongest battlers out of Buffalo. Honestly, very under-recognized, very smart player. Originally, he was running a triple counter team with Scrafty, Toxicroak, and Deoxys Defense. Man, that was a nightmare to try to deal with, but I'm glad he swapped out a little bit. All right, so we got lucky and shielded that Hydro Pump. Everybody's down in shields. He comes in with the Tropius. I've got 2 very good counters for it, but I'm going to bring in the Altaria, given that he's got the Azumarill. I believe everyone knows this matchup from either Tempest Cup or Go Battle League. That poor Tropius just has nothing it can do. So we're going to bid it farewell now after getting a little extra farm to see if we need to try to get to another Sky Attack to KO the Azumarill. Which actually might have an Ice Beam ready, and I am within range that I'm going to get KO'd by it. Got Gutsy with the extra farm. And I don't believe this Sky Attack will KO anyways. But any amount of damage on this little guy is very, very appreciated. We're in a very favorable position right now, though, because we still have the full health Probo passing back. So get some Sparked Farm in. In comes the Toxicroak. Thank goodness we banked some of this energy here, because this Earthquake is going to crush. And then all we got to worry about is the minimal amount of health that Azumarill has. But the Mudshot farm down. We steal game 1 from Tom, who I was fully expecting to lose to at this point. Alright, so Probo, Shadow Hypno. So, not a lot of practice against a Shadow Hypno, let alone a regular. The move potential is always so crazy. We got real lucky that he didn't like the matchup that much, so he swapped to his Bastiodon. And seeing that we had the Altaria in back, we want to make sure that our Quagsire can take this guy out. But Stone Edge isn't going to do too much. Opts for the Flamethrower. Not sure if it was a bait. Pretty sure they're the same energy cost, so I think going for the Stone Edge would have been more beneficial because, you know, I didn't shield, so it wouldn't have made it just would have done more damage. So I'm going to throw this Earthquake. He apparently just doesn't like this matchup enough, just lets it go. Wants to come in with Tropius, but he knows I have Sludge Bomb. And Mudshot charges super fast. I was ahead on energy. And it's not a Razor Leaf Tropius to be able to just burn me down. So we do get a shield, which is huge. The grass type that burns a shield, defending itself from the Mud Boy, Lord Quag. So he did his job. He got rid of the Bastiodon, so we're going to let him go. I'm going to come in with Altaria. He's going to swap back to the Hypno because I believe he's got the Ice Punch on it. And I'm just going to go back to Probo. I felt like this could have been a Shadow Ball. I was wrong. So he's got Thunder Punch. So that's something to make note of. Don't know the secondary charge attack on it. Hopefully it's not Frustration. But I know Tom's a better player than that to try to risk a regional qualifier bringing a Frustration, Thunder Punch, Shadow Hypno. So with it being Shadow, I feel like he's a little more inclined to shield given the defense drop that's on it. I am still convinced that he's got Shadow Ball and he's going to try and nuke me down, but I want this for his last Mon. Get a little extra farm because of how slow Confusion is. I got to get better at actually either switching or firing charge attacks like mid Confusion near the end of it, so that way I capitalize a lot better. You know, those wonderful game mechanics like that. So Altaria is just going to come in and do what Altaria does best and remove these grass attackers. Sorry, Banana Birdo. Or at least that's what I nicknamed mine. Hey, I think I'm creative sometimes. Leave me alone. Alright, so that puts us at 4-0 going into Game 3 against Tom. So I'm still nervous. I know I've won, but it's still like surreal in my head. So we're still trying to focus and learn as much as we can about our team and how we can adjust to different strategies here. This game in particular is called the Hypno Carry. He just puts in miles and miles and miles of work. So we are just going to get this Azumarill out of here as best we can. He takes the Thunder Punch. I believe we're just going to take the Ice Beam, just trade blows here. Ice Beam, still strong attack, puts me into the yellow. But, you know, they're both super tanky. I'm going to get to the next charge attack sooner. I'm still expecting some kind of a switch out, but I think he wants to commit to this matchup. And honestly, so do I. So here's where he does something interesting. He knows he can get to a Mud Bomb before he gets Confusion down. So he's committing to either just throwing his Toxicroak away, or he's going to get my last shield. So I'm going to give him my last shield. Probably not the best play, but it did delete his Toxicroak. And I've got a lot of energy, so I'm just staring at that top right. I see grass flying, I'm going instant Ice Punch. And I'm not sure what was going through his head, but maybe he was thinking, I was just assuming it was Azumarill. So he would have just let it go. But luckily we managed to get to another Ice Punch. So now he's going to farm me down. I'm out of shields. I come in trying to farm a bit, but he's got a bunch of energy, so we're going to duck. And we are going to take the Hydro Pump on the Eleuteria. Ah, man. I don't know what level I was playing on at this point, but I did you dirty there, Tom. I'm real sorry. And honestly, I think I could have just farmed down with Dragon Breaths, but, you know, with the amount of health that he has, he's just going to let this go. Good games, Tom. So here we are, round 5, going for the sweep against the gentleman that I met in the finals of said Voyager Cup from 2 days past at the time of this video recording. Anyways, Karaya is running a very strong meta team. We played our hearts out in the last finals with me coming out on top, and I knew this was going to be very, very difficult to navigate. So hopefully I don't make too many improper adjustments now that I actually have 6 viable Pokemon versus the last time where I just never touched Haunter. I just didn't know the matchups well enough. And Haunter's so too glassy for my taste. I think I just wanted to use it as like bench pressure deterrence. So here we are just exchanging Frenzy Plants. Again, still kind of curious as to why Meganium brought on his part, but you know, he had his core down and how to use it. So I can't really argue and say that I know better how to use his team, because there's a reason he was here in the finals and is here to try to botch the sweep and create a 3-way tie. And finally going to get to have some fun bringing out the Pokemon that loves hoodies but doesn't know what a belt is. I was fairly afraid of both. You know, Scrafty's got good matchups against Registeel, against Hypno, and against Alolan Marowak, so we decided to finally bring it. It only took, you know, the 5th round of game 1 to actually bring Scrafty in for a change. Here we are. Not a favorable matchup, but the upside is the preferred moveset for Azumarill from this cup and for every cup that you should ever be running it is the Ice Beam and Hydro Pump. So we didn't really have to worry about the one-hit KOing play roughs coming out too much. I mean, yes, some of our opponents in early rounds ran play rough, but also they didn't really have a lot of a team that wanted me to bring Scrafty. So we're just going to keep chunking away this ever bulky Pokemon, and he just had to go ahead and flex that. So we've got Quagsire. This isn't so bad. We've got, you know, 1 shield left each, and the Azumarill in back is pretty low. The one thing we, in the moment, forgot a lot about is that it has a lot of energy too. So I'm going to farm up extra, and because we met in the finals, I know that he knows I have Sludge Bomb on here, and that was how I used Quagsire as like my core breaker. So luckily, I was able to get that shield there. I'm going to burn my last one here, try to farm up a bunch of extra energy to hit like 100 energy. Fortunately, Earthquake is so much that it's hard to go Earthquake into the Azumarill and fire that KOing Sludge Bomb. And I think I'm at 100. Throw the Earthquake. I need to hit every bubble because I need it to KO. Think I went to try to undercharge it. Probably should have, but he had the energy. So we lose game 1. But honestly, he's a tremendous battler, so I don't mind losing to him. So game 2, try to adjust from the Meganium lead. Bring in the Hypno this time. So this isn't so bad. The Ice Punches are definitely going to hurt. If he ever brings in the Azumarill, then I've got the Thunder Punches. And if he brings in the Registeel, well, I got stuff in back for Registeel. And I think in this point, I need to maintain switch advantage, and I'm willing to give up shield advantage for it because our teams are very rock, paper, scissors per se, so trying to make sure that whoever has the switch advantage has the upper hand on the advantageous matchups. Based on my assumptions of what he brought. So I do realize saying that and then end up letting a Frenzy Plant go through and putting me dangerously low. And he commits 2 shields on his Meganium. So while that's great and all, now my Hypno will go down to whatever comes in next, but we are still up a shield. So probably going to get maybe a Confusion off. Yeah, 1. So, still not quite sure what I was thinking. I think, the Altaria would have been really nice for that Meganium, but I didn't really expect the back-to-back Meganium leads, so having Altaria in back was pretty nice. But looking over his team again, there's really not much else that he would really warrant wanting to keep him back there other than the Reggie. So I farm up energy and go for the swap out to try to catch the Hydro Pump, but obviously smarter than that. He was probably had his finger on the switch up too. I should have known better. This could have been Meganium in back, and I would have been set to force a game 3 that would have been decisive. Instead, he's got a ton of energy on that Azumarill in back. Man, I really want one of those as a shiny. GBL screwed me, I didn't get one. So, in the no shields, Altaria is okay against Reggie. With shield advantage, Altaria can actually beat Reggie. We are not in that situation, so we are going to lose our Altaria here. Mudshot farmed down earlier, and then I get Lock-On farmed down. Ouch. I was gutted at this point. Absolutely just beside myself that I went 4-0, and I'm this close away from this. Managed to time it right, so I actually throw the Sludge Bomb. I'm not sure if this was CMP. The problem is, didn't KO, got the pump, and sadly, I did not record Game 3, which I did end up winning, but it did push us to a playoff round. So we are going to a 3-way tie playoff round against Final Azure here. A relatively similar team, but instead of the Meganium, she got Shiftry, which I thought was an interesting pick. The Leaf Blade spam is huge, but we're going to give it our all here. Try not to get too much inside our own heads to think like, man, you blew it, you don't even deserve to be here, but we're going to fight this out. Erin, she is one of the strongest battlers in our area. Always close battles. I don't think we've ever actually had one where it seemed like a total whitewash. Ever since my first tournament in our Kenton area, which was where we got qualified for this regional up at UB North, our first Twilight Cup, where she quickly realized and was nice enough not to tell anyone from the tournament what my overall strategy was for that Twilight Cup. We've been friendly rivals ever since, and she's been a delight. So it was an honor to battle her, but also a total unfortunateness for my psyche, because I was scared to death, just like I was when I had to battle Tom. So enough about the backgrounds. So we burned both shields on the lead matchup. Able to land the Earthquake here on the Alolan Marowak. Going to go into Scrafty. The counters are heavily resisted, but Scrafty is also, being the Dark type, is going to resist everything that Marowak throws at it. Not too afraid of it. The only kicker is Scrafty was mostly there for the Registeel and the Shiftry. And now it's going to get locked into something I probably don't want it to with half health. So in comes the Azumarill. Power Punches are not going to do too much, but we're just going to try to ramp up our damage so that whatever we do manage to hit into it is at least something noticeable. So get these counters up to a respectable damage here. I think it's going to be like 6 or 7 per hit. So yeah, not remarkable for countering Azumarill, but it's definitely going to add up. And at least this way she's got to respect the Scrafty, seeing that I bring it now. The Hypno, the Marowak, and the Shiftry are just kind of gambles. I wanted to switch out because I had so much energy. I was almost to that Earthquake, but she, being the tremendous battler that she is, got out of there on time. And I've got just the lowly Hypno, who's not going to do very much to this Registeel. So this puts me already 1 game in the hole against someone that I tend to mentally psych myself up against. And this is where I start, like, as a player, I need to improve to stop making these types of mistakes. But it's all right. It's always a learning experience. We're just going to keep throwing this damage at her. Thunder Punch is obviously an expected move on Hypno for the Azumarills and the Skarmories, if there are any, or flying types in general. So I don't feel too bad revealing this information. But also, spoiler alert, this is also the last time I bring Hypno against her, so that's okay with me. And we lose game 1. GG's, Aaron. Well done there. Alright, so we're going to try the Meganium lead again. This time we catch the Azumarill instead of the Registeel, so this is fantastic. It's exactly what we want the Meganium for. Do a little bit of extra farm just because we were expecting a switch out, but now that we are throwing the Frenzy Plant, now we're expecting a shield. Got the shield. That is okay, because that Vine Whip damage gets it low enough that if one does connect, we'll be able to farm it down before it gets to a second Ice Beam, so we can tank this one. That's all right. Swaps out. In comes the Alolan Marowak. And we bring in the Scrafty. In hindsight, probably could have gone Quagsire and been okay, but we're just going to not shield a thing, bring in the Scrafty, start ramping up some damage, and punching, honestly, my favorite ghost in the face as much as possible. I actually just recently purchased and am wonderfully happy to flaunt an Alolan Marowak COVID-19 mask, so I can represent this wonderful ghost type everywhere I go in public, even though I beat it up a bunch here at Regionals. So this, I still think it's a Bone Club, but if it's a Shadow Ball, it will KO, and then I lose the switch advantage that I really want to maintain. She does bait me with the Bone Club, and I feel like I probably could have gone for a Power Up Punch, save some energy, and just farm up a little bit more, but we're going to throw the Foul Play just to guarantee the KO on this Alolan Marowak. So we know she's got Azumarill, assuming that's what's going to come in next, and farm up some extra energy here. In my head, I don't need this Scrafty anymore, so we are just going to do whatever damage we can. If she farms up some energy, so be it. I believe I still have a shield in case she's got the Ice Beam for that Meganium. At least Meganium can burn a shield as well with that Frenzy Plant that I'm very close to. But I'm actually going to come in Quagsire, which she switches into Registeel. So this is... I don't know the word for being able to, because I'm not on a camera here, for scratching my head, but we will take this. Yeah, Flash Cannon would have been resisted, but we're going to go for this Earthquake. Sure, either put in a serious amount of work or get that last shield. We get the serious amount of work. So this is where things got a little weird. I believe we CMP tied here. And it actually got her low enough that when she's tapping her charge attack, she's tapping the same spot for where the Azumarill attacks are, and she died to a Vine Whip and ends up throwing a Hydro Pump. So that was a little wild. Obviously very much in my favor, but it's not much of like a glitch. That's just really poor timing. And now she knows I've got Sludge Bomb. So, third and decisive game. Got a wonderful lead. Last one round we had Hypno the carry. This time around, this guy's carrying. Not just carrying his pants, he's carrying this matchup to try to push for this grand final against Karaya yet again. So we're expecting a Focus Blast. No real reason to bait here, because if you are wrong, that's all right. He's super effective. Now about to be double powered up counters are just wrecking through this poor Registeel. So she's going to let this thing go and try to bring in the more favorable matchup here of, I believe, Azumarill. And we're not going to switch out because we don't want to lose switch advantage. We're just going to put as much damage into this Azumarill as we can. Maybe try to burn some shields. So we got a double powered up Foul Play. For resisted, that's still some substantial damage. And these counters are adding up. We know she doesn't have Play Rough, so we can just let this guy take whatever charge attack she's got. I believe it's an Ice Beam. There we go. And he's still punching. Getting to yet another Foul Play. And I believe this is a shield number 1. Yeah. For a favorable matchup, Scrafty stealing a shield. And about to go down. Why not ramp up the damage a little bit more, throw a power-up punch? And this is where he carries super hard. Gets the second shield. So Scrafty used one shield to take out all of Registeel and put Azumarill to the deep, deep red. Yeah. Pat on the back to that 14, 15, 15 best buddy, now best buddy Scrafty. So we're going to come in with the Quagsire, because we know that the Sludge Bomb will get there. We're going to just KO this Azumarill before it gets to another move. Even with the Meganium in back, probably could have killed it a little bit faster, but we did not know what she had in back. And it turns out it is the Shiftry. Luckily, I'm still up a shield, and I'm actually going to use it here because I really wanted to make sure that this Shiftry took a ton of damage, and Sludge Bomb is so good against it. You'll see, even with Shiftry charging super fast, but I did have one worry in the back of my head that she might have, because I hadn't seen the Shiftry, and if I'm running Sludge Bomb on Quag, she might be running something super wonky on her Shiftry. And I've got Meganium in back, thinking maybe she's got Hurricane as a way to counter maybe some of the fighters having that huge flying nuke on her. So this is where I'm literally on the edge of my seat, gripping my couch, going crap, crap, crap. And let out an enormous sigh of relief. Great games, Aaron. Whew. Now we got to try to beat Karaya. Best of 3 for the third time in 3 days. And my gut was telling me he's going to lead Meganium again because he did it in the 2 games that I had videos of. So let's see what he brings in. And I've got 2 very solid Registeel counters in back. Honestly, thought for a second, like, which one should I bring in? Right, he swapped out of Meganium, so let's bring in the one thing that he would really want Meganium for. So Focus Blast, shield that. Wondering if he's willing to give up the Registeel. So we're going to farm a little extra energy, throw this Earthquake, see if he's willing to commit the shield like I was, or if he just wants to let this go. He's got 3 very bulky Pokemon, so we just get that Reggie out of here. So now Altaria feels a little safer. Able to get to a Sludge Bomb. Not sure if this was CMP or if he was trying to farm up a little bit of extra. But we're going to throw a Sludge Bomb, get a shield. This Quag. This Quag puts in work. He definitely was over farming. I mean, he knows I have Altaria in back, so I'm not sure why he wants this extra energy on here. Smartly lets that one through. So, I don't know why I was waiting on the switch clock. I feel like I might have actually been helping him more than helping myself. I feel like I'm in a very commanding position here. He does switch out. It is the Azumarill. We each have a shield, and Meganium is just going to do what Meganium does best and stomp this little guy. So while we have this moment, Phil, I'm glad we had that talk the night before the Voyager Cup, so that we went with the sludge bomb. So thank you, Phil. All right, so I scrubbed out, missed a couple of bubbles there, so luckily I got the shield. I know I can still tank an ice beam if need me, but I really want to hit all this so I can get this Azumarill off the board. Stop worrying about it. No more switch out shenanigans for my Altaria. But given the amount of health that I have remaining on this Meganium, I don't even need the Altaria anymore. Whew. We take game 1, and now I'm really feeling it mentally. As we've been going for forever, I am really hungry at this point, and that's all I was thinking about when I blew the sweep, is that, damn it, now I gotta play more, I can't get food. So let's make this one count and not lose the lead. So I lose the lead, but we are going to do what we can. We gotta make the best with what we got. I ran the same trio because it worked out wonderfully. He was a little late on the switch in here. But we are going to throw this sludge bomb, try to chunk off this Meganium. Again, I've got the Altaria, and he knows I have it, but shields. Sludge bomb is not going to KO, but hey, all the power to him. I love my Meganium. You might too. To each their own. But I'm going to shield this one because I'm very close to another sludge bomb, and we're going to see what we can do here. At least put it into a remotely lower farm down with like Dragon Breath range. So we're going to throw this sludge bomb. We get the second. So he is just going to farm me down now. Smart to farm me down. Wouldn't have agreed to the second shield. So here comes the Altaria. We're just going to let him throw his energy. That's fine. We see how much Frenzy Plant does. Earthquake would be even worse. So just going to let him hit. Plus, I know he's got Azumarill in back, so I really don't need much from this Altaria anymore. She was mostly there to protect the Quagsire, but unfortunately can't always win lead matchups. So Meganium's gone. Got 2 Pokemon each. I'm up 1 shield. In comes Azumarill. Not able to get to that Sky Attack, and I'm not about to commit this shield. So all we've got is our Meganium against this Azumarill, and I've got 1 shield. Was kind of expecting a switch out. Didn't want to throw a Frenzy Plant, say, into something like Registeel. So we did farm up a bit of extra energy, and he was not able to switch out, so that's fantastic. I'm going to throw the Frenzy Plant, so we're up over in energy here. The Azumarill does not go down. We need to make sure that we remember that. I don't believe we'll have enough time before he's going to be able to do a sack swap, but because of that extra farm, anticipating the switch out, we're able to get to this Earthquake, which is obviously huge. Puts in a ton of damage. Flash Cannon will not KO. Focus Blast would not either. I believe Flash Cannon's the correct move to go for just because of the stab. And I'm panicking, sweating, panting, screaming internally. And I know I need this Reggie off of here. The Azumarill was low. I don't know if it has energy though, but I want this gone. So I'm just throwing the Frenzy Plant. I'm not even sure if this KOs, but luckily it did. And Vine Whip wins it. And at that point, I screamed that I had won. Scared the hell out of my dog and fiance. But there you have it, folks. That is my regional cup run. This was covered by our tournament organizer, but I felt like if I'm going to do the continental videos, I'd also like to show how I got there first. That way you can watch both from the same channel. So going through a lot of the matchups of the other competition, and we'll go through some video show segments of their teams and their selections here. But just wanted to thank everybody that helped me get to this point, and all the competitors and the organizers. Not sure why I didn't show the playoff rounds here, so I'm trying to scroll over, but that's all right. We saw the rounds that mattered. It was just a 3-person playoff between myself, Final Azure, and Karaya, both managing to go 4-1 in the base rounds there. So, looking to have the part 2 with my team for Continentals up in the near future. So thank you everybody for watching, and hope you enjoy this. See you on the next one.